Hi everybody, welcome back to part 3 of building a decorative wall mount for an antique rifle. Today what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to be patching the unfinished side of these brackets that I made. I've got a couple of spots here that where the wood is chipped out, it needs to be patched. I got a hole here from a previous project, same thing with this one. So basically I'm going to be taking some wood putty and spreading it on the back of this to fill in these gaps before I do a final sand. These sides right here are pretty much finished, but these sides are not. So I need to kind of get these prepared to be finished before I mount them on my other pieces. Now I also plan on routering the edges of these, and I was going to do that today, but I wound up having to work on my router. For whatever reason, it stopped working. I got it working again, but now it's kind of late, so I don't have enough time to do both. So I'm going to do this part at least today, and then tomorrow I'll be routering, but it will be part 3, both parts. So the routering and the patching will be on part 3. So I have a couple of different wood putties. In a previous video, I mentioned that it's always a good idea to have the dry mix wood putty available because, again, you can keep this for a long time. You can mix up what you need when you need it, but you can keep it for a long time without it going bad. These other two, again, made by the same company, these two are pretty much the same. They're just in different packages. The plastic wood comes in one of these tubes, or you can buy a little tub of it. Now, the problem with both of these is over time, if you don't use it, it does go bad. Now, I decided to use this one because I have been using it and it is kind of going bad, meaning it starts to harden up. So over time, I've added a little bit of water here and there to it to kind of make it a little more pliable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit out of here. I don't want a lot, but I kind of want to start with a little bit, spread it around the back. All right, and again, I'm going to be able to sand this off. And one thing I like about this type of putty is that it is paintable, it is stainable, and it does come out really good. This water putty that you mix up, again, it says plastic wood. It's made by the same company. In my opinion, this does not stain very well. You can paint this all day long. Staining it, though, it's not really good. So I'm going to set that over there, out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and just work this into these little grooves. I may have to dig it out, but again, once it dries, you can sand it, you can stain it, but I just want to get a little bit into the rough areas where the wood is chipped away a little bit. And I want to put a little bit more than what I need, meaning, let it raise up a little bit, because you can always sand it down. All right, I think that's going to be pretty good for that piece. So once that dries, it'll dry a white color. Whoops, I got a little bit here that I need to do too. Let's scoop that out of the way. So again, you want to just put a dab on it. You want to make it a little bit more than what you actually need to fill in that gap, because you can always sand it flat. And this little bit is not cooperating as much as I wanted it to, but we come from the other direction here. So we want to leave a little extra, which is what I'm doing. All right, good. So that can dry. And I will do the same thing with this other piece. We don't have much on this side. We just have this little hole right here, which that hole will fill in pretty easily. And again, if you find that you buy this wood putty and you don't use it and it's semi-pliable, it kind of starting to dry out a little bit, you can always add a little bit of water, stir it up, let it sit in its container, and it will still work. And that's kind of what I've had to do with this a couple of times, actually. You definitely don't want to try to use putty that's rock solid, because at that point you just want to throw it away. You don't want to try to even use it. But if it's a little bit pliable, still seems semi-soft, yeah, you can add some water and you can bring it back to life. I mean, besides, this stuff is, it's not expensive, but you don't want to buy a new container every time you start a new project. That's why I recommend buying the dry powder stuff. You mix up what you want when you want it. It's always available for you. All right, so I have this patched. I don't see any other spots. So I'm going to go ahead and set these down and let them dry overnight. Tomorrow then, like I mentioned, I'm going to get the router out. We're going to router these pieces, and I will sand those two pieces, and we'll kind of do a final check on everything before we start attaching these two pieces together. So stay tuned. Okay, so I have my router set up. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be routering these two blocks. I'm going to be running them through with the finished side down, obviously. Going to be running them through along these guides. Now, what you want to do when you're doing this is you want to make sure you're putting pressure up against the guide as you're going through the router and making it run across this guide. There's a little wheel on top of the router bit. So what I've done is I've lined up these guides with the edge, this edge right here of this router bit. So that's going to give me my routered edge, and I'm going to do that for all four sides, both pieces. All right, so let me get this fired up. And this will be a little bit loud, so I apologize. Aha. Well, it looks like looks like this router is toast. Yep, it's toast. So my intention was to get these pieces routed today. I actually tried to do it last night, but I had an issue with my router. Thought it was the trigger, took the thing apart, put it all back together eventually. However, the trigger still wasn't working quite right, so I had to actually plug it in and unplug it to turn it on and turn it off. But then when I ran this piece through, this is as far as I got. About 3/4 to an inch of routering, and then it shut off. So there's obviously another problem. The good news is that I'm going to, looks like I'm going to be buying a new router. Maybe a plunge router or something, who knows. However, we're still going to get this project done. And here at the What Now workshop, we have a new project. Trying to figure out what's the matter with this. Now, normally I would just say, hey, it doesn't work, throw it in the trash. Obviously take the bit out because the bit is very, very good. But I don't give up on stuff. I'm going to try to fix it if I can. And what's the worst that could happen? So I take it apart, I can't fix it. I bugger it up. It goes in the trash. Okay, no big deal. But I still want to try. However, that's going to be a video for another day. So that's good news. Anyway, I will continue this as soon as I get another router, which will be tomorrow. And we'll get this project done. So appreciate it. Okay, so here we are on take 2, if you will, of our routering portion of our project. I've got good news, bad news, good news, which is good news. I bought a new router. It's a different type of router, which I'm going to need on another project that I plan on doing soon. Bad news is that router doesn't fit this table. This is a Craftsman table with a Craftsman router. And because it's a different brand that I bought, it doesn't fit this table. The other good news is that I was actually able to fix my Craftsman router by doing some research in online forums about this router. So it's kind of a hack, if you will. They call them hacks, life hacks, project hacks, whatever. But I was able to fix it, and I'm actually going to make a video on how I did that. So if you own one of these, you can do it too. But we're going to go ahead and get started now that I know this works. And we're going to get these 2 pieces routed so we can get this project finished. And I will explain the trigger issue that I tried to fix. However, this is going to be loud, so I do apologize. Okay, that is all I wanted right there, was to get this router working long enough just so I could do this. And let me tell you, it has been a pain. So we have our 2 pieces. I got the routering that I want done. I'm going to do a little sanding for cleanup. It's going to give us, this routering is going to give us a little depth. It's going to give us a little bit of contour, make it look pretty nice. So I'm going to do some cleanup sanding. The next step for us is to do a final sand on these 2 pieces as well as our other 2 pieces. And then I'm going to mount them to these